Originating from wooded areas in parts of Asia, camellias were first introduced to the UK in the 1800s, and since then their popularity has just grown and grown. They're evergreen shrubs, and which so are perfect for offering structure and form throughout the year. But even better are their flowers. They flower from autumn to spring, and they have the most beautiful flowers which come in lots of different shapes and forms. But they're perfect then for adding a bright splash of colour at a time when little else is in bloom. When it comes to finding the right spot for them, being woodlanders, they prefer a spot with partial shade. The sasanquas, the early flowering or autumn flowering camellias, can tolerate a little bit more sun, particularly when they're a bit more mature, but for the vast majority, partial shade, which makes them perfect for north-facing aspects or shadier gardens. Now, two things I would avoid is icy cold winds, and also do not plant them in an east-facing aspect, and that's because they're in full bloom now. These flowers and the buds get covered in a layer of ice, and then if the sun hits that first thing in the morning, it'll just scorch them, and then you'll end up with brown buds and flowers. So avoid icy winds and avoid early morning sun. They prefer a good rich soil with a pH that's neutral to acidic. So if you do have chalky soils, then the good news is you can grow them quite happily in a big pot on the patio or out in the garden, and but fill the pot with ericaceous compost. And do make sure you keep them well fed and well watered. And when feeding them, choose something that's got the additional iron, so something that's especially formulated for rhododendrons and camellias would be ideal. And finally, they don't really need much pruning. They're pretty low maintenance shrubs, but it's worthwhile just going over them every so often, and if you see a flower that's faded, just pick it off, and that'll keep the display looking really fresh and really nice. And also, if they really are growing out of bounds, or you've got one shoot that's jettisoned off in the wrong direction, then the best time to give that the chop would be immediately after the flowers have faded.